There are so many new units in NIKKE, and it's been a while since we did one of these, so today I want to talk a little bit about the wishlist and what characters are the most important ones to be putting in here for people who don't have the full roster. If you have the full roster, this is nothing but what are your favorite waifus, and which ones you want more dupes to get either the core 7 shiny flag or just the MLB backgrounds. Obviously, some characters have higher priority, in my opinion, to get MLB than others, but we're gonna be categorizing each faction, so Pilgrims, Tetra, Missilis, and Elysion, right? Each one of them, and put them into 3 categories: filler characters, 1 copy, and priority units. We can start probably with the biggest one, right? Which is going to be Tetra. Before we start, also, hello degenerates, welcome back to the Waifus. I'm Sefhi, your favorite gambling addict, and today's topic is going to be the updated wishlist priority. I'm going to be putting them one by one as they come up, so feel free to either skip to specific factions with specific characters. If I missed any units, do let me know in the comments down below, because I added them manually into the custom tier list, and I have probably missed 1 or 2. That said, let's jump into this, starting off with the Tetra manufacturer. I will be going as they come up in this list and putting them in here. And we're gonna start with Viper. Now, Viper, you need enough copies for the treasure if you care about endgame. If you don't care about endgame, she even becomes a filler character. Obviously, if you care about raids, I will say get at least a couple copies for the treasure. I know this is called one copy, but you should get enough for the treasure. She's not a priority unit, in my opinion, at the moment. But for raids, she's good. Grab a copy. When it comes to the next 2 treasures, which are Milk and Frima, they are both characters you can completely skip. They are useless units. Even on the current meta, they have no usage. Frima for the true damage, I believe, was the true damage teams. And then Milk is Milk. We don't talk about Milk. I've already complained enough times about her. Same goes for Yulha. It's a character you can completely skip. Nowadays, there are better options for the one-shot teams, but if you're an Omega tryhard for solo raids, she still sees some usage sometimes, but I'm gonna be leaning into the filler more than anything. Newer players that are starting later are not even using her on the one-shot team, because again, way more options nowadays. Now, when it comes to Alice, yes, I hate her, but she will go into the priority because she's a good character. Still one of the strongest damage dealers in the game. It's also pretty cheap to build because you can get her for free, a few copies with the bonus recruit system that I already don't have. But yeah, she's a fantastic character. Priority for at least MLB. When it comes to Bunny Alice, she's a 1 copy, and she's on the same situation as Viper, where unless you care about raids, they are not used at all. Like, if you don't care about raids, you can skip both of them, right? But if you care about raids, they can still see some usage, and Alice, since she does not steal your B1 slot, because she re-enters B1, can still be used and provide decent heals. Then we have Jan, which is a completely skip. Nowadays, she never got usage since day 1. Not a good unit for PvE. Then we go into Dola and Novel. As much as I love these 2 characters, because they are great both per 2 units, their moves nowadays are not great. Dola goes into filler. We could make the case for Novel because she was used on the last solo raid, but that's more copium than anything. That was like 1 guy who used Novel, I believe, right? So I'm not gonna be telling people go grab a copy because 1 dude used her at the highest possible level in solo raid, right? So skip, sadly, filler character. Same applies for Fall 1. She has some niche usage with the shields, but most often than not, useless character. When it comes to Nord, I will say grab a copy. She's the weakest bunny, but still a good unit to have. And when it comes to Rogue, she is probably amongst the best bunnies in terms of obviously the 777 squad. Now, I will say a priority for her because she's used still in tower and everyone else. Moron, Sakura, Cocoa, and Normal Soda will all go into the filler tier because they are not good characters. Now, I'm not going to be going one by one into their kits because we're going to be here 30 hours. If you guys want specific reviews for specific units, you can check the website under skills, but again, underwhelming units. Characters that go into this tier are simply the ones that have seen no usage in 2+ years, okay? I don't care about one specific niche case scenario that 1 guy did. So they all go there. Then we go into Soda and 8. 8 has a higher priority, in my opinion, than Soda. 8 is a fantastic burst 2, one of the best ones we have in the game, and she is by far one of the best assets as well in the game. She looks so fine, bro. When it comes to Bunny Soda, I would have said before that she was a priority character, but nowadays Iron is getting better units, and I will say a copy is more than enough for her. Unless you really don't have more options for your shotgun team, she can still be used there, but even there she's losing usage thanks to the newly released buffers and also because Solin and Drake Treasure. Biscuit and Leona, as much as I like Leona, not a furry, but they are both filler characters. Leona, you could be making the argument for shotgun teams and the pellets, but the pellets is a dead mechanic at the moment. I will make a separate video talking about it because it's something that I'm interested. But pellets are dead, okay? There are like 2 characters that can take advantage of pellets, and that's it. I'm gonna put Arya directly here, and I'm gonna put the cheerleaders directly here because they are all useless. In fact, let's pull all of the useless characters right here so we can just completely skip those, right? The characters that nobody uses on PvE. That's going to be your Mary, that's going to be Ludmila, Rupi, Norma Alexia, Rumani. You could be making the argument for Exia to get copies enough for the treasure, just like Viper, but even by today's standards, it's not that great on electric, right? So I will say a skip. As much as I like Sugar, she also goes here. Rosanna, Normalate, Nero, and even Noise I'm gonna put here. I know Noise is good for PvP still, and she can have some niche usage when it comes to like cheesing content, but for the most part, it's not a great unit. So those are all of the characters that are basically you can completely skip. Okay, I'm gonna be deleting this tier because it's just characters that are not important, so we can focus on one copy versus priority. So we can delete this, and then we can talk about these units. Now, Velvet is still not in the wishlist. Her banner is currently up. Whenever she is added, she automatically goes into priority. Really good character to be having here. The last character I want to put in priority is going to be Bunny Milk, because her damage is way better than Soda. The biggest problem is that you have to manual her. If you do not manual Milk, just do this instead, okay? Soda up, Milk down. But if you are going to be manualing her, she's better. These are the 5 characters I would recommend people focus on for dupes. When it comes to the rest, they are all going to be one copy characters. Blank, because Steel is used and a lot of synergy with Rogue. Crust is a great B2 buffer. Then you have Breedy, which has great damage, but is only on specific teams, right? And then Volume, which even her CDR is not the best and her buffs are not fantastic, she can still get some usage. So there is no problem on actually using her. But those are the characters that I will say prioritize. These are the characters that I will say you can grab a copy and they can still get usage, no problem. So that is for Tetra. My Tetra wishlist obviously is just characters I want to get more dupes on. I want my Core 7 Nero because she is a good cat. That said, let's move into Missilis, for example. I'm gonna be putting once again everyone in filler so we can get those characters out of the way, the characters that just nobody uses for PvE content, right? And we can go and put Jackal, we can put Pepper, we can put Admi, we can put Epinel, we can put Flora, we can put as well Senti, and then both Grow and Juni, obviously, Julia. And is there anyone else that I will say is just not that great? I mean, Elec and Troni, when they were released, they weren't awful characters, but by today's standards, they are not great. In fact, I'm gonna be going as far as saying that if Julia is here, as much as it pains me, Laplace goes here too, okay? It's a filler character that most people are not gonna be using. She can be using the tower, but it's not really that important. As said, those are the filler characters. Again, the characters that on PvE have no usage. Even the treasures here, which are both Julia and Laplace, they can get some decent damage, but in contrast to how expensive it is to build them, just not worth it at all, right? So those are all the filler characters that I will say you can skip. I have Juni on my wishlist because I want to core 7 that booty, but that's just my personal preference. So we can remove these girls and go into the one character or the priority list instead. Now, who would I recommend going for priority here? First is the treasures. Both Tove and Drake are fantastic characters, and their treasures keep getting more and more and more usage. So I will say those two are a no-brainer. Sadly, everything else is really hard to justify putting as a priority. because a lot of them are one copy. Litter is a one copy character. Maxwell is almost a filler unit, but her buffs are keeping her alive as a buffer, right? Same goes for Mana. Mana is a character that for most people is going to be a skip, but she can still have some utility for your win teams, as she has been used on raids. Same thing applies for Trina. She's nothing but a treasure for both Scarlet and who was the other one? Jill, I think it was. Nothing else. Still nice B2 when she has a nice global buff on her burst as well. Tia and Naga, I love Naga, but both of them will go into one copy. They have been losing more and more and more usage. I don't remember where we have Naga at the moment on the tier list, but if I am 100% honest, she might be going down sooner than later because in contrast to some of these newer girls that have better buffs, Shift Up for some reason refuses to put cores on enemies, and so we're just stuck with not being able to use the best Brony mommy. Now, when it comes to Ain and Quincy, I can make the exception to put them as priority because you need 5 characters and they will be using the tower as well, but they are not meta-defining on anyways. Ain probably is the best one, and that's because how annoying it is to deal with Mirror Container, and she's pretty good there. If we get more units for true damage, she will see an increase in usage as well. But that's basically for the Missilis one. When it comes to my Missilis wishlist, once again, I just have Uni for the core 7, Flora because she's cute, Ronnie for the MLB and Mana, and then I want more copies of Ain. I would love to get the core 7 for her. But that is for Missilis. Now, let's go into Elysion. I think I added everyone. Once again, if I missed anyone, do let me know. So we can start with the fillers, and then we'll move into the other 2 categories. Fillers is just like, once again, they are useless, guys. Like, they've never been used in PvE. Well, actually, Poly was using PvE back in the day for the shield teams and in some water raids. Nowadays, not so much. Query, I want to make a video on her this week. I love Query, but she's useless. So Link goes here. The OG killer for your team, Diesel and her treasure are not great, not a good pick. Same goes for normal bestie, and the same applies for all of the normal girls on this squad. So Emma and Enwa, all of these girls, the normal versions are not great. Same goes for Maiden. And then afterward, there are a couple more useless ones like Sora. You also have your Guillotine that by today's standards is not a good character. OG Mast and then OG Breed as well are all characters that are not that great. Now, a lot of issues with the rest of these characters because some of them are good, but it's really hard recommending a copy. And the reason I say it's really hard is because you have characters like Kay, which have decent damage, but the problem is who the fuck is going to be fully invested in her when you have just better alternatives, right? So I'm going to be skipping some of these ones, like for example Kay, like for example Sui, D, and Phantom. They are not the worst characters, but again, by today's standards, they are not great. And the same, sadly, for the second best ass in the game, Miss Marcy. All of those units are basically escape characters. You don't really need to focus on them, not worry too much what they do. Now we can go into the important part, which is one copy or priority. And when it comes to which characters to prioritize on Elysion, there are a few that are really good. The first one is going to be obviously Bestie, just because of the hard mode push. I will say she's priority as a damage dealer. The second one being Helm for her treasure, is still the best treasure in the game by far. Now, the rest is a little bit more complicated. I will say the tactical upgrade girls are more of a copy than an actual priority. Same for Maid Privacy. Maid Privacy is almost a skip character by today's standards, right? Like by today's standards, she's not that great. Maids are fantastic units, and there could be an argument to put Mast as a priority for MLB because how much she's actually used, which I could agree, but I'm not sure if I want to put them separated or not. For now, we can keep Mast in here. Then you have both Privacy and Delta. Privacy is getting a treasure soon, but even the base Privacy has some usage early on and for PvP because of her stun, her buffs, and everything else. Is a character that almost phase out, just like Maid Privacy. Hopefully she gets revived soon with the treasure. Delta, same thing, great synergy with Crown, decent-ish copium synergy with Cindy, nothing else because we don't have any more good defender characters. Both Lavelle and Arcana, one copy would be more than enough. They are characters that Arcana only works with Isabel, so if you're building Isabel, you would get Arcana. And Lavelle is a nice character, like she has decent buffs. Her kit is one of those weird kits that only a couple lines are worth investing, but still is nice. And then the last two characters that I would give priority is the Miranda Treasure. Whenever you finish the Miranda Treasure, she goes into low priority, but make sure to get her treasure because she's one of the best ones in the game. And then lastly, the Killer Wife, which obviously best ass in the game and one of the best CDRs still to this day, so it's worth grabbing a copy. As you can see, a lot of support characters in here for Elysion, and that is because on Elysion and on Missilis, you're gonna be using Mihara over spec and Rappi as well here, right? So cannot put them on this wishlist, but it means you can focus on other characters. That is for Elysion, and my Elysion wishlist, as you guys can see right here, is just characters that I want to MLB, and made priority I want more copies. I want the core 7 for the best made in the game. And now we go into the important one and probably everyone's favorite, Pilgrims. Which ones to skip, which ones to focus on. Remember that this is PvE, and as such, Noah will be going down here, okay? And probably the previous video to this one is going to be about Dorothy, or the next video about this one, I'm not sure, but she's a filler character by today's standards. Same goes for Haran, not a great unit at all. Now, let's go into the rest of the characters, because some of them might be a little bit controversial for some of you, and that's completely fine. Let's start with the priority. Right? Priority is going to be your Little Mermaid. Priority is going to be your Crown right here. And lastly, is going to be your Nayuta. I think these three support characters have higher priority over everyone else. Also, Rappi here, Rappi Red Hood, and Mihara almost didn't put the actual over spec characters. And then after your three Pilgrims in here, you should be putting Rappi. Now, there could be an argument to only get a copy of Nayuta, and I can see that argument, and then focusing on these three girls, which are probably the strongest three in this category on their own niche, right? Like Crown is the best support, Little Mermaid is the best B1, and Rappi is the best B3, and almost as good as Little Mermaid as a B1. So these three are like the absolute priority. Everything else is really hard to say they have the same priority as them, because they don't, right? Mihara is a one copy. If you like her, obviously you can go for MLB. When it comes to Scarlet, by today's standards, unless you are building Trina and fully invested in both of them, she's a filler character. I love my girl, but she's a filler character. Again, both Scarlet and Isabel, they are both used in electric raids now, thanks to Trina and thanks to Arcana. But unless you have also those characters, they are fillers. If you have them, then they can go up to get one copy at least, right? Then you go into the rest of the units here. A lot of them, like I said earlier, some people might disagree, which is completely fine. Rapunzel is a filler character, and OG Snow White. I'm a hater of Snow White. Okay, guys, I just don't like Snow White. What can I say? But I'm going to admit that the new Snow White can be a priority unit because how good she is. Okay, I'm not gonna be a full hater here, just because I don't like the one-shot teams. Obviously, if you are doing solo raids, you want to be getting a copy of Snow White. But the same rule applies to Scarlet and Isabel. If you're doing raids, you want to be getting a copy of each one of them. The thing is, if I have to give priority to newer players, I'm not going to recommend Scarlet, Isabel, or Snow White when you have Liberalio, when you have SBS, Cindy, Red Hood, and even Grave to get, because they are better units. And the same goes for Modernia. I like Babu, she's good for raids, but we are not gonna be putting here. In fact, for this one, we can be doing this if you guys want instead, right? Which is for the Pilgrims, put an extra one, only for the raids, and we can do this. So that would be probably a little bit more accurate for the Pilgrims. We could do this for the other manufacturers as well, but I feel the video is already long enough and we don't need to be jumping anymore. That said, that's basically everything for the priority for the wishlist on all of the manufacturers. Once again, for most people, this long term becomes nothing but what characters you want more copies of. Okay, nothing else. What characters you want to MLB. That said, enough yapping, enough ranting. We are live every single day. If I miss a character, leave a comment down below. Good luck with your pool day raids, and I'll see you in the next one.